Great. Thank you so much for having me and joining the session. Technology and problem solving is absolutely at the heart of what I do. So you've joined the session, Transforming Literacy with Technology, Empowering Educators for Inclusive Instruction. The way that I think about assistive technology and technology in general is just, it's one more tool in our toolbox. So join with me. It is going to be a little bit fast paced. If you've downloaded the handout, notice there are a lot of slides. So just buckle up and be ready to share in the chat. The other piece that when I'm presenting, I love it when you guys share ideas with each other. I do have suggested apps that I will be highlighting. However, there's a robust amount that you can tap into and try. If you've tried something, feel free to, like, at the appropriate moments, share that in the chat. We do have collaborative documents and whatnot. So this is really just an interactive session and kind of like a structured conversation. A little bit about me. I am a speech language pathologist by training. I did go back and get a doctorate in education just because I felt like, here I am in education. I needed to understand it a little bit more than a speech pathologist or a typical speech pathologist. I got an assistive technology certificate way, way, way back in 2001 because I was working with students who really needed more than just typical instruction. So that kind of started my journey there. And then I had two children. They're beautiful, amazing children, but they learn differently than the typical child in the classroom. Both have ADHD. One has, interestingly enough, my son, who's down below in the on the bike. He loves to bike, but he also has spastic diplegia. And when I had him in preschool, the interesting thing was I was told he couldn't learn. He is doubly exceptional. He is wicked smart, and he was able to get gifted services, but we did need assistive technology for him, partly because of his seating and postural needs, but also because he has ADHD. And there are certain amounts of supports that need to be factored in, including assistive technology in that puzzle helps him a lot. Lexi, my daughter, had ADHD and she was diagnosed in third grade. One thing to throw out there again is that when we started our learning journey with my children, they were in a school where the language of instruction was Spanish. They attended a Spanish immersion program. In third grade, she got diagnosed with ADHD. I thought, no, she can't have ADHD because it's just the language load of learning a second language. Well, then fast forward, she was having language or reading difficulties as early as second grade. And again, I'm thinking, okay, is it the language issue? Is it the ADHD? What could it possibly be? Well, in the end, she received reading supports as a speech language pathologist. I don't recommend this, but I know many of us do this, where I tested her language at home. Her difficulties do not lie with the understanding or use of language, except when it comes to print. So we worked with her reading specialists along the way, starting as early as second grade. When we moved to Pennsylvania, when she was in fifth grade, she did receive reading supports here in Pennsylvania, which was amazing. She continued on that supported learning journey with literacy through eighth grade, when she finally reached a level where she was able to be more fully included in classes. So that's my journey as a parent. However, as a professional, I also worked with students who didn't fit the clean model of learning in the classroom. So I've always been differentiating instruction. I also, if you saw that there, no surprise, I love gadgets. I like trying stuff just for the sake of it. But because of that, I am a really good consumer of what I try. I know what I like. I know what I need. I also know what I don't like, and that helps drive what I purchase. That's at the heart of some of what I will be talking about today. I also like to bike, no surprise. I am in the process of training for a 50-mile bike ride, just so you know, I can persevere. Some of what we'll talk about today is how inclusive technology can bridge the gap for between what students can do and the grade level expectations, because what we'll talk about a little bit later is our mandate as as a school is to provide access to information immediately. There's a certain amount of reasonable timeliness. However, if the students are learning how to read, the thing that we need to factor in is, do they also have the information to access grade level content? We'll also look at how assistive technology can support students with the various areas associated with reading, and list ways to integrate AT seamlessly into literacy instruction. I did want to have a little bit of fun today. And so we're going to do a Kahoot. I would like you to go ahead and join that. So what I'm going to do is actually change my screen. I'm going to share a different screen. And let's see. Nope, not that one. Here we go. So I'm going to share that one. Great. This is a quick quiz just to kind of see where you are. It'll also determine the pace of what we do. So I see that many of you are joining. Awesomeness. So fun, fun, fun. Now, part of the reason why I did Kahoot, many of you guys are familiar with it, but kids will actually want to practice if it's gamified. I'm not saying that gamification is something you should use for instruction. However, it is a fabulous tool for helping kids figure out where they are. It's a nice assessment tool. They can do self-paced if, oops, here we are. We're going to go ahead and start. Sadly, I only have the free version, so the first 40 get to try this with me. So we're going to go ahead and start. Gamification just kind of allows us to make it more fun for our students. Can assistive technology contribute to inclusive classrooms? By separating students based on how can assistive technology contribute to inclusive classrooms? By separating them based on ability, by providing equal learning opportunities, by limiting student access to information, by discouraging collaboration among students. Yes, of course, providing equal learning opportunities. It just kind of levels the playing field, and especially if we customize it. So let's go ahead with that. Awesome, balanced panda, clever crane, expert sable, jolly penguin, clever ferret. All right, which of the following is a common type of assistive technology for improving literacy skills? Text-to-speech software, speech-to-text software, virtual reality gaming, or GPS navigation? Sauce. All right, yes, text-to-speech. It's what we use a lot. It's in our phones. Siri is using it to talk to us all the time. Alexa as well. So let's go ahead with that. Great job. Ooh, Wonder Yak is moving up. Be careful, balanced panda. Here we go. What percentage of teachers believe that students' increased access to individual computers makes teaching easier? 47%, 53%, 68%, or 32%? All right. So the answer is 53%. So only a little bit more than half of us actually think that. Ooh, here we go. Pressure's on. Here we go. Which of the following, I turned off the music, by the way, it's kind of annoying. Which of the following is an example of literacy-based assistive technology tool? Graphic design software, spreadsheet software, ebook reader, or virtual reality simulator? Now, this could be a trick question. Virtual reality simulators can actually have things built in, but there is really just one answer I'm looking for. Yes, ebook reader, of course. I made it a little bit obvious. Oh, here we go. Moving it up. What role can assistive technology play in promoting independent learning for students with literacy difficulties? All right, it eliminates the need for teacher involvement. It prevents students from interacting with their peers. It can personalize learning experiences and provide support. It only focuses on advanced learners. Awesome. Yes, it can personalize the learning experience and provide support. Here we go. Moving around. Neck and neck. How can text to speech technology assist students with literacy challenges? It creates visual art. It translates languages instantly. It helps them write code. It converts written text into spoken words. All right. Yeah, it does. That's how it helps. It does also translate languages instantly with the newer technology and the way that we're engaging in an ever changing world. All right. True or false? The use of assistive technology is cheating. All right, great. I'm so glad that you guys don't. Really, it's meant like technology and all features. It's kind of like when you buy a car, you're thinking about all the features that you need, as well as those that you like, the things that you don't. Again, this is smart consumerism, and how can we make learning more efficient and effective for all students? It doesn't replace good instruction. Which aspect of literacy can speech recognition technology assist students with? Identify foreign languages, improve their handwriting skills, enhance their musical abilities, or expanding their vocabulary. Yeah, it'll help expand their vocabulary. It provides them with the access to their oral productions and then allows them to put that into print. Some students will avoid spelling errors by using a limited vocabulary. All right, what percentage can gamification improve outcomes when combined with reading? I know the numbers are hard, right? 45.45, 75.8, 30.15, 60.67. A little more than 60%. What's your guess? All right, yeah. A little more than 60%. It improves because it allows that element of variety with repetition and kind of makes it more fun for our students. All right, here we go. Next up. This is our last question. Assistive technology for literacy is primarily designed to help with individuals with artistic expression, gaming skills, athletic training, language, and reading challenges. Yeah, that was a quick one, right? It's pretty easy. Great. Awesome. So hopefully that was a fun way to get us started. Let's see who our winners are. I love the all right, glowing llama in number 3, eager duck number 2, number 1, clever crane. Well done. All right. So that was just a fun way to get us started and getting us in line with how can we change things. Um, so I'm going to close that out and then reshare my slides so that you have access to that. All right. And then move things around a little bit. So, all right. So the other thing I want to focus on, I'm not going to go into in depth about the reading rope in particular. However, as a speech language pathologist working in schools, and supporting my students and teachers. There are things that are common among what my role as a speech pathologist and supporting educators and students and families. Um, when I think about reading, I'm looking at the language comprehension piece. I am also looking at word recognition because it's a visual referent for the words that come out of for our thoughts and the words that come out of our mouth. We do have students who, maybe have, uh, you know, difficulties with verbal speech. So print is absolutely a medium for them to be communicating with others. The most efficient method of communicating for those who use augmentative communication systems, of course, would be orthography. 26 letters combined into uh, smaller amounts of meaning in the word, like morphemes, graphemes, words, sentences, paragraphs, allows us to communicate anything we want with anyone. Part of that is also being able to recognize what the squiggly lines look like when we're looking at, visual decoding. Then there's the phonological awareness where that taps into the sounds that we make, right? If the students are able to tap into their auditory comprehension, it allows them to learn faster and creates more of a fast mapping scenario. There are students who struggle with that because of a variety of factors. And so that's something to keep in mind. However, when I'm looking at language comprehension, there is a certain amount of background knowledge. Do the students understand because they have enough information that they can tap into to, again, map that concept to prior knowledge and then learn faster? Vocabulary is part of that. What are the strategies that allow them to not only learn the word that's in front of them, but then also glean meaning from the words around them? Language structures, the predictable patterns of language, verbal reasoning, are they able to critically analyze the information in front of them, not just in the print that they read, but also in their written productions? Does it make sense? And how do you learn more? Literacy knowledge, of course, is part of that Prince concepts that I was talking about. So there's a variety of things that we would also be thinking about and be part of that collaborative team for literacy instruction. I like the simple view of reading because it just breaks things down. This slide just has a few extra examples. Again, I like examples just to be like, well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, here are a few things that we might be talking to. What I would like you to do, though, is be speaking with your teachers and your literacy specialists, as well as your speech pathologists. It really takes a team and a village to be teaching our students, especially in the diverse classrooms that we continue to have. Again, as a speech pathologist, I'm a little bit of a brain nerd, so I like neuroscience. And what you notice in this modern vision of the cortical networks for reading is that literacy is happening all over the brain. Oftentimes, what I talk about when I provide analogies is when you think about the brain, I think about travel. Information is traveling all over your brain, and it's happening at like lightning speeds, faster. However, at some time, if you're thinking about literacy in the how do I get from your town to Disney World, there are different pathways that you can go, and there's different means that you can use. But ultimately, the goal is to get to Disney World. You might walk, it would take a long time. There's no technology involved. You might take a car, but it does take, at least from Malvern, about 15 to 19 hours, depending on who's driving, to get there. If you stop along the way overnight, you do sightseeing. Again, it'll take a little bit longer than if you took the train, which can be combined with a car. If you don't know that already, I learned that on the East Coast. I thought that was kind of cool. Or if you fly from the Philadelphia airport down to Orlando, you still have to take a car. So there's different ways that you might get there. Again, the ultimate destination is Disney World. Similarly, the ultimate destination for many of our students is to be able to independently read the information that's in front of them, interact with words, and understand language. And again, me thinking about language, reading is language in print. So how are we manipulating those squiggly lines in a way that we understand it and we can manipulate it to take in, understand, and convey ideas? This I thought was an interesting just variation, again, also from um, Dr. Stanislaus Dehaene, who really looked at neuroscience, and way back in like 2010 was when he was thinking about this along the lines of how do students or how do children learn to read and what are the different pathways. He even provided a similar thought where there are many routes to get there. It could be auditory comprehension that supports that. But if you're going back to this brain, notice that, if you take in information, it happens in the occipital lobe if you're visual. If you are not and you're using Braille, this would be a different pathway. However, then we move over to, as we're transferring this information, we'll go over to the angular gyrus, which is the highway or the shortcut to the language center right here, right? So we're constantly thinking about how do we decode information. However, some of us might take a side, like do some sightseeing in the auditory area because we're still silently decoding things. So, how we say read in your head? Some of us are still reading out loud, or not reading out loud, but we're reading those sounds in our head versus visually fast mapping it and taking the highway or expressway directly to the language center and then, conveying meaning that way. So that's really kind of at the heart of what this is. This is just another flow chart for kind of conveying, like if we're taking in visual information, how are they converting it to the sound production if that's necessary, or are they mapping the information? Here is something that I wanted to also throw out. Not all reading is created equal. If you guys are reading specialists, I'm sure that you also kind of recognize that in when we're looking at background knowledge, science has different demands on what we're looking at. You'll look at facts, concepts. We're looking at vocabulary, very specific vocabulary, technical terms. We're planning to be objective, succinct, and precise. Informed skepticism is part of that process. So, it's different than when you're thinking about math. Math, is part of science. However, now you have to think about mathematical concepts. There might be extreme precision because there's usually only one right answer, but there's different equations for getting there. Same thing with literature. Now we're looking at the canon, the genre, and the author as part of our background knowledge. Historical and technical terms might be part of that. As we saw in the keynote in 4th grade, they were learning Shakespeare. And how does that change your world view if you're tapping into what happened a long time ago and the way that they used to use wordplay within those things? Thank you guys for in the chat sharing that information. I was kind of bummed to learn that Google Jamboard is going away. I think they extended it because it was supposed to be last December, but now it's October. So if you're still relying on it, I really appreciate you guys sharing that you're switching to Notability and FigJam. Yeah, I've used FigJam. It's not quite as, it's got a few different features. It's just learning one white space for the other or whiteboard for the other. So you'll have to figure out what's easier. Thank you guys for sharing your ideas with that. All right. So, no surprise, there are diverse learners. I did take the time to update the information. These are actual numbers from last December or December 2022, where that was our last updated child find pen data. We have 36%, more than 36% of our students have specific learning disability, which includes dyslexia, which is something that was talked about before. Other health impairment, if students have ADHD, sometimes that can create situations where learning is a little bit harder. They need more time to organize that information. Speech language impairment, here we are. Autism is also well represented, emotional disturbance, intellectual disability, and what have you. So in those classrooms, we definitely have a diverse array of learners. To add to that, though, is that we also have students who are multilingual learners who also have disabilities. The thing that we need to be really thoughtful of is making sure things are culturally rich in a way that taps into their cultures, values, background experiences so that they also can quickly learn language. With our multilingual learners, what you need to also think about is they're learning instruction side by side with peers who are monolingual English speaking students, or whatever the language of instruction happens to be. So it adds a certain level of complexity where if you're a multilingual learner, now you're learning 2 words or more words for the same item. It just takes longer for students to map that information. However, it is possible. Most of the students who are multilingual learners who are within the neurotypical range are actually more effective and strategic in their abilities by the time they graduate high school. When we think about this, I'm sorry, this is a special education conference. Yes, we're here for literacy, but I want to also highlight when we're not providing meaningful engagement within the curriculum, we have learning loss, right? We have to be providing that information in real time as they're learning explicit instruction or, literacy skills within explicit instruction and possibly especially design instruction. They might have self-esteem issues, which directly relates to the increased dropout rates. Why go to school if it's always hard? And how are you making the connections with the people that will walk you through it? So that's, I think, why we're here today. I know I'm preaching to the choir. You're all here with great ideas. And so hopefully, if nothing else, I'm validating you. And then we're also providing information with each other. Yes, WIDA is absolutely something that you should tap into. You'll want to be thinking about their BICS and CALP because their social language may be stronger than their academic language where there's technical terms. So thank you for throwing that out there, Jennifer. Overall, there are poor outcomes for students who don't have meaningful access or engagement. Just a few technologies, statistics about technology and education. 89% of K-12 instructors use ed tech in their classrooms. So most of you have this available, if not all of you. One data point that's not up there is that during the pandemic, for all its drawbacks, it did increase spending for technology by 43% here in Pennsylvania, which allowed many more of our students to have access to one-to-one technology. Again, personalizing the learning experience and helping to provide access while they're learning literacy skills with explicit instruction. 76% of students say that technology makes learning more engaging. 90% of teachers say technology helps them assess students learning more effectively. There are features that are built in, some of which I will talk about later. Tech by another name, this is me just thinking flexibly about technology. An iPad is an iPad is an iPad, but sometimes it's used as education technology. Depending on its use and its feature, the name will change. So information technology, our phones can be that as well. It encompasses the components of the computer's networking hardware and what have you. However, in the end, are we using it to instruct or assist students in their capabilities? What you also hopefully have heard of is inclusive technology. This is the stuff like the iPads or our phones or our computers that have assistive features built in that allow us to customize our user experience and for our students, customize our learning experience. We get comfortable, like think about when you get into your car. I obviously go on road trips a lot. You adjust the seats, you adjust the mirrors, you know, maybe use the lumbar support, you adjust the volume on your radio, find your favorite radio station. This makes your driving experience more comfortable, especially for long drives, even if it's just a short drive to the store. However, because of these features, thanks to assistive technology, it allows us to have an easier, cleaner experience to make us more productive and efficient in what we do. Bringing it back to equity and access, something to consider is that access to tools does guarantee students have access to learning um, or what they need to within the context of the repertoire. It's always situational, and every, you know, just like as we were looking at the different content areas, how they use technology may differ based on the task. Equality means equal rights and opportunities for all students, including the same expectations and resources, regardless of different needs. However, what you can do is be adjusting things and again, allowing the students to customize their experience. If you're focused on the goal, whether it's going to Disney World or reading a passage and being able to analyze it critically, you need to always be focused on the goal, but the pathway may differ. And so if we're focused on the goal and allowing flexibility with how to get there, then that's the ultimate goal of what I'm hoping you'll take away. Equity involves providing students with the necessary support tailored to their needs to help them seize opportunities and achieve their goals. So giving everybody the same is equal, but giving them what they need in order to be the most efficient, effective learners is equity by design. I will do a quick plug just because I do work with so many students who need technology in order to communicate and learn. But I want you to be thinking about is high expectations for all learners, especially those who maybe don't use verbal speech. There is an interconnected yet independent relationship between reading, writing, listening, and speaking. It develops in overlapping and parallel waves and is infused throughout the day. So we need to just be thinking about language is, you know, sometimes in the air, sometimes it's on our paper, or it's sometimes on our screen. But in the end, we're looking at language. Children who use AAC devices do have challenges accessing the curriculum, either because their learning profile is maybe not as fast as some of the fast mapping gifted students. So again, it creates that diversity within the classroom. Minimal control over acquisition of new vocabulary. They're only given certain amounts of information instead of having the world of print at their fingertips. And access to limited vocabularies that insufficiently meets their needs. Many of the communication devices only have, 500 to like up to 3,000 words available to them. However, if they have orthography and they're able to recognize words, it opens up a world for them. So be thinking about that. This is something that actually comes from more of like the AAC world, but it translates to everything, where when we think about engagement, motivation is absolutely tied to physical effort, cognitive effort, and time. Notice that, you know, students who have ADHD, the more time they have, the more that they're going to procrastinate. If it's hard or more complex, again, it affects motivation. If you have to, let's say, in the case of one more thing, when I did my dissertation and I asked why technology wasn't in the classroom, many of the respondents on the survey said it was one more thing that they had to do. What I'm proposing today, and we'll get into in just a bit, is what's already built in. Let's think about that for a second. What digital mobile devices and computers are available, right? Technology is ubiquitous. It is everywhere. It's in our pockets and it's our backpacks, it's in our purses, tables, our laptops, what have you. So it's everywhere. What's built in? What can help us? And how can we tap into those features? How can the settings of devices be configured to personalize the experience is what I talked about earlier. Now, here's a different way of looking at technology, again, tapping into those different, terminologies, but here are some of the examples of universal features that enhance learning. Universal plus learning support might be something that we use within our accommodations or modifications as you're thinking about tiered supports, or when the student needs more because they don't fit within, the average learner's ability to take in information and reading in this case in particular. What else can we add? What's built in? What's already there? Then when our students really need intensive supports, and maybe some things, it's just happening at a rate that uh, is getting in the way of them taking in instructional information and having access to grade level information and content and vocabulary. That's when we think about it, technology as assistive. How are we using apps for communication, matching, tracking, and tracing apps that might help with, some of, for visual impairments, digitally stored information for those who have difficulty with uh, finding their assignments at the bottom of their backpack for a week and can't find them. True story. This was in my house, two different learners, two different readers. Craziness. I don't know if you guys can identify with that. This is just kind of another reference for the way that I'm thinking about technology. It doesn't have to be assistive, but there are things that you can try. I tried lots of things with my daughter, and I will tell you, motivation was at the heart of it. It was one more thing that she had to learn. On top of the complex learning that was happening in the classroom, she was learning to read and take in information, but before she had access to assistive technology to supplement the fabulous reading instruction that she received, we needed something to help her out. She needed to be able to have access to that content. So there's different things that you might use. Here's just a few examples. Here is just a quick, these are hyperlinks to, if you're using Android, here's the accessibility overview, Apple, Google, and Microsoft. Those are like the big three, if you will, like Apple, Google, and Microsoft. They find themselves in business parks where they're actually not that far away from each other. So you might notice features are similar across platforms. When we think about the benefits of technology, it bridges the gap. Thank you for that, Sherry. Between students' learning abilities and their peers without learning disabilities. Have any of you seen the book Animal School? It's a book. I didn't refer to it in the slide. In the book about Animal School, and you can find lots of cartoons, there's an instructor, and he said the test is on climbing a tree. Yet there were eagles, elephants, fish, a monkey, and other animals that were there. If there was only one test and only one way to assess learning, then it creates a barrier in itself. So that's just something to think about. Another thing to consider is that the use in secondary school and post-school has been shown to improve educational attainment and life outcomes. Oh, I'll have to look that up. Can somebody look up Animal School on Google for me, and then drop that in for Jerry? But the other thing to think about is what we are doing in school is not helping them achieve grade level content for third grade, for fourth grade, for 10th grade. We're preparing them for life outside of school. Outside of school, they have a world of technology that they can use. So I think it's our job to think strategically about what are the skills that they need to have, and how can we help them be more strategic in the tools that are available. Could be technology, could be something else. But today we're talking about technology. Students with high incidence disabilities, like learning disabilities, specific learning disabilities like dyslexia, or maybe having ADHD that impairs their ability to engage in the curriculum, reported receiving AT in schools had more positive post-school outcomes in terms of paid jobs, wages, participation in post-secondary settings. We've set them up for success, and then they were able to enter the work world or post-secondary education settings. So just be thinking about that. It's not just, technology for today. It's preparing our learners for tomorrow. When we're thinking about tech-based solutions, UDL is at the heart of it. How are you designing with variability in mind? Technology is found to create more flexible learning spaces for that, but it's not the only thing. So, while I am here to talk about technology, be thinking about it's just another tool to help make things more efficient and create more flexibility for what you're already doing. MTSS and RTI, depending on if hopefully you're here in Pennsylvania, we're thinking about those additional targeted supports. If we're looking at 504, again, we are most of us are receiving federal funds, which means it is our obligation to be providing access, whether it's through a 504 or through an IEP where the students need specially designed instruction. Within an IEP, however, just know that beyond checking the box, you should be embedding assistive technology supports and how students are flexibly engaging in the curriculum. It doesn't have to be something that's like you only can use the mixer when you're baking, making and baking cookies. It could be, maybe a hand tool. So it just what tool, picking the best tool for the task. How are you describing that and allowing students to be more efficient and effective in taking in information and producing it? And in this case, again, literacy, language and print. This is just examples of how MTSS might have technology represented. It could be a universal reading support within that, tier 1. It could be targeted reading supports where you're providing more robust features and options such as better text-to-speech, like with Read and Write or Kurzweil 3000. It kind of depends. But it could also be deployed as those more targeted supports where the individualized reading supports could be either tier 3 or it could be IEP or both. Remember, our students with IEPs could be receiving tiered supports throughout the process, in addition to the specially designed instruction that they're receiving as part of their IEP. I found this, I thought this was a great list. I focused on the positive of, how we're looking at the attributes of differentiated classrooms. We are thinking about the students. We're thinking about the content and the students and how are we engaging them. I was, some of the sessions yesterday focused on how you would provide small groups, which I think is fabulous. If you didn't attend those, go back into the list of sessions and write those down for attending them later. I plan to personally go back. There's a bunch of things. There's so many great sessions during the literacy conference. Please go back to YouTube and check them out. But also we're challenging and engaging tasks for the students, particularly with literacy. If we have students who are challenged with taking in print information, it's hard. They are not engaged. The complexity of using the information that they're seeing in print and tapping into information that hopefully they've learned through vocabulary and context and background knowledge. If that's not happening, it's really hard to learn. So it's our jobs to be thinking about how to do that. I'm not going to go too into this, but again, one of the other sessions that I attended was around assessment and the information that we're using to look at how our learners are taking in information. Please use that information effectively. When I would go in as a speech pathologist to talk to my daughter's reading specialists and teachers, I specifically wanted the information to help her learn strategies and tools to accelerate her learning. She used a 504 throughout her learning journey through K-12, and now she's in college, pre-med, bio major. But she also uses assistive technology to help her engage in the content, and she uses other accommodations to allow her to engage in college courses. So again, post-secondary outcomes are often linked to the use of technology in flexible ways. When we're thinking about technology supports inclusionary practices, meaningful participation in general education settings is part of what we're tasked with. Least restrictive in looking at the least restrictive environment is absolutely at the core of what we should all be doing. Students should be learning amongst their peers, whether they are neurotypically developing or maybe need additional supports. It creates opportunities for students with diverse abilities and kind of helps you as teachers to, again, pick the path. What's the goal? Are you going to Disney World? Are you, analyzing text? Are you trying to figure out what Shakespeare was saying? And it facilitates access to learning and participation for all students, every student. This is the part where I was talking about being a smart consumer. How are you optimizing the experience for the learners? Again, with the goal in mind, what does the student need to do and what's needed for optimal performance? Optimization is at the heart of, just making things easier, more efficient. What's available? Do you guys have Google Classroom or Microsoft products or something else? What is it that you like? However, the other thing is, what do you not like? I'm sure there is a longer list of things you don't like that helps drive the things that you do like. Sometimes that's an easier list to find. And then what worked or didn't. Sometimes things that don't work now work later. I will tell you just, because I have longitudinal data on this with my daughter, we tried text to speech, we tried read and write, we tried, other text help features, we tried Kurzweil. In the end, the tool she chose was Speechify. And we'll talk about that also later. Just thinking about what are the things she likes. She particularly likes the natural sounding voices. That's something else that you would want to be thinking. What's missing in what you already have? That's really part of the what else do you need? Like when buying a car, do you need those extras? Same thing with what's in the classroom. Do you need those extras above and beyond what's already there? And then making sure that you advocate with your technology specialists or your administrators or your students learn self-advocacy for this is hard. How else can I do this task? Can I be using these features? So again, one more time, I'm going to keep repeating ad nauseum. What's the goal of the activity and how are you measuring growth? The other piece with assistive technology is it really helping? Does it help them or do you need to be finding something else? This is a strategy called CORE, an acronym, where we're looking at how perceivable information is, how operable, easy to use, understandable the information is, and robust. It's something that we will want to be thinking about in the future. This is just a link to some different areas where Google Classroom, Microsoft Education, and then some online learning for ideas that you might want to check out. When we're looking at technology considerations for reading and writing, here's a few tools that you might be considering as assistive technology, just a list for things to be looking into. Now, I'm going to do this really quick, but we're going to have to do it super quick. When you go to Starbucks or your favorite coffee place, what kind of coffee do you order? And this is a text-based tool, so just type in, like, it could be just coffee. It could be a latte. It could be a white mocha. Yes, caramel macchiatos, latte. Matcha tea, yes, venti chai, coconut caramel latte. If you don't drink coffee, that's okay. Sometimes people get tea anyway, but you'll see on the next slide why I asked about coffee. Cold brew, yes, right? Love that stuff. Shaken espresso, milk latte, vanilla latte, brown sugar. Yeah, so there's lots of different things that you might be ordering, right? This is again, like if you want straight coffee, you can have straight coffee. But if you want something else, maybe a little fancier, maybe a little bit more, this is how I want you to be thinking. So that's just kind of a, I love the word clouds because you always kind of find like who has that one thing. Why I ask that is because when you're thinking about technology, the SAMR model is great for helping you look at integrating technology into what you're already doing. It could be a direct substitution for how you're engaging in the curriculum. Maybe instead of a paper textbook, it is an e-text for students who can't turn the pages or who have difficulty with carrying things in their backpack. An iPad with all of their digital textbooks, far easier and lighter to carry than, oh my gosh, remember when textbooks were like, an inch or more thick and you had to carry 5 of them because you were in middle and high school? That's really hard to do. You might be augmenting or enhancing those things, kind of like a latte, or you might be modifying it in a significant way, again, as a redesign, but with the same goal in mind. And then it might be a redefinition. Instead of writing an essay, maybe instead of a 3 paragraph essay, they're doing a 3-part story. So it really kind of depends. Here's just a slide with examples. I'm not going to go too into this because I'm realizing that I knew I was going to probably talk too much and not get to everything. Here again is how are you optimizing the experience, kind of like in a checkbox sort of way. This is just kind of a repeat, but I wanted you to have hyperlinks to the accessibility features. It's all in there. Now, here's what I need you to be thinking about. Here are some of the look fors. When you're looking at reading, again, supplementing what it is. This is not going to take away from your explicit instruction. Students need to be able to see words, decode them, be able to tap into the vocabulary that's in their brain, recognize it, and the faster they are at that, the fewer pathways, the more, if they're able to fast map it and then recognize it because they've decoded it, it is the most efficient way for them to take in information. Memorizing words is something that is really hard. But if you're able to provide that decoding, it allows them to read more flexibly anything, right? Quick story, I'm sorry, I know we have limited time. When my son entered kindergarten at the Spanish immersion school, remember he's the one that couldn't learn. He, because of his physical disabilities. But in his Montessori school, they taught him the Montessori method of learning sounds. So the way that they tested where the students were with their Spanish was they provided a coloring page. So he's sounding this out. Remember, he's at home. We're speaking English. At school, he's expected to learn Spanish. So he's sounding out, azul. He thinks about it, translates it in his head, which, again, another pathway. It takes a little bit longer. We're doing a little bit of sightseeing here. Then he recognizes azul means blue. Okay, so he's coloring the blue. He gets through all the colors until he gets to anaranjado, longer word. We don't use orange very often in our house. I don't know, Halloween. But that's how they looked at his ability to read. He's reading another language based on his ability to decode the images in front of him, right? So because he's decoding, because he's able to take in that information, blend the sounds, map it to a word he recognizes in his brain because of background knowledge with Spanish exposure in preschool and family daycare, he was able to recognize those words and read them. He ended up being my voracious reader too, by the way. Same house, one struggling reader, one voracious reader that was reading way above grade level in like 2nd, 3rd grade. Like he was reading Percy Jackson, like young adult things. So, oh, let me go back. Sorry, I didn't go into enough of that. What I was talking about earlier with, things that you'll think about is the inflection there. Is it understandable? Another thing to be thinking about if students are tapping into content, in those other classrooms, are they able to do speed listening? What's interesting is students who are visually impaired or students who have become accustomed to text to speech, they will speed up the rate of the reading because they're able to listen to it at a faster rate. They're able to auditorily fast map because that's their fastest modality of taking in information. It could be highlighting word for word. This also ties directly into improving literacy. So that's another thing. Color options provide you the ability to flexibly tease out parts of language. Is it free? Can you try it for free for a demo? Is it free? Or is it fee-based and via subscription? I did provide a few audio, text-to-speech, and OCR tools in that list. So hopefully you all have the handouts. This I think is fabulously cool. Reading progress is built into your tools, whether you're in Teams or Word. I think this is the coolest feature. So I did provide a couple of clips with reading progress. So if you click on the hyperlink, that will take you directly to that page. Actually, I'm sorry. If you click on this one, anything that's in blue print is hyperlinked to the information specifically where I found it. This actually is super cool because the students can pick the words that are hardest for them, practice them, and then be doing quizzes on their own. It also provides you the data to find out how are they doing? How quickly are they learning this word? Where do you need to emphasize your instruction? So cool. Love the stuff that's now built into what we do. Here's just another page that provides more of that information with Reading Coach. I don't know if you've seen this, but Google Read Along is also a tool that's through Google. It is also super cool. It's more for younger learners, but it does provide that magical assistance, helping your child with the different areas that they need. They're able to tap into practice the literacy skills that they're learning in class, in just flexible ways that allows them to take their time. Some of our students need more time, and that's what it allows them to do. So here's how it might be. Read Along might be integrated in Google Classroom. It existed for a while as a mobile app and is now part of a website. Here's some of the features. By the way, I have to say, I love that, we can now do little GIFs and short videos to demonstrate things. So super fun. There's your data, right, for your classroom. Again, where can you focus your instruction? Using the data in tools that they'll practice on their own because it's cool and engaging. And if you gamify it, they'll compete with either themselves because you've provided an independent ability to race against time or get the best score for themselves, or you can, see how that plays out in your classroom. Is there a fee for the service? If it's ask your technology person, sometimes it's part of what you already have. Now, another feature is the reading mode, which allows you to go in and simplify things. There are more features now. You can also change the language so that you're supporting students who maybe have a different language that is more dominant. Maybe they understand that feature more. But notice how you can change or manipulate how the text is presented so that it's easier for them to read. We've learned through the pandemic that having bright screens in front of us 8 hours a day is really hard on our eyes. So it also allows us to darken things if we need to. Check that out. So again, customizing the reading experience. One thing to be thinking about, image to text, when things are not in, when you take a picture of things, what's great about our smart technology now, phones will recognize the text. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. Be thinking about how you're either providing digital images as a like a Word doc that you create a PDF, or just allow them to manipulate the words in particular. Students who use screen readers, either because they are still struggling as print readers, or students who have blindness or visual impairments that use screen readers for being able to take in information that way. If it doesn't have that optical character recognition built in, it doesn't give them any information. It is just a picture with nothing. And then you provided the digital image just like a regular picture, but it doesn't give them any other information. So just be thinking about that. There's tools that build that in. For our multilingual learners, again, thinking about what's built in, Microsoft Translator in the classroom, there's different tools for that. The image in this case is hyperlinked. So click on that. Google Translate in Google Chrome, totally free. And it's also in our iOS devices and Android devices. So, chances are you can do this. It's become more readily available for students who need that language support as they're learning print in English. Remember, like in Spanish, they have 7 rules and 20 phonemes. We have 44, and Sherry, help me with how many rules do we have for combining sounds? I should know this.
More than 250.
Oh my God. So yeah, imagine. We are not going to go into this on your own. I do have a starter doc that says, share your inclusive tech ideas for reading. Please, please, please share your ideas. This is how we crowdsource and share ideas together about what works. When we're looking at fluency development, there are tools like Fluency Tutor and Flipgrid. Flipgrid's great because you can have students demonstrate what they're doing. It is a video-based learning tool, but it allows them to use verbal speech when maybe they're able to elaborate on certain things. Or in the reverse, if you have Flipgrid and you give them the directions, or even annotated audio, video, is available in apps like, oh shoot, Flipgrid is not going to be around. I forgot about that. But if you can do audio or picture annotations, like with apps like Cami or other features, that's something to consider as well. Darn, I forgot about Flipgrid. Thanks, Jennifer, for sharing that. Then also, when we're simplifying or reducing text complexity, just remember you can use summarizing tools and text simplification tools like Microsoft Learning, Immersive Reader. TLDR is a great resource. Rewordify is very popular and free. Simplish, Text Compactor, and Summary. Those are all things that you might be using. Remember, I'm just want to put it out there, because we're playing with language, whether we're taking it in as print or putting it down as written productions. We're looking at speech recognition accuracy. This is a great way to find out what kind of language structures are in place. The level of grammar and spelling support that is available versus what they need. Have those strategic conversations with the students. Again, we're teaching them how to be great consumers of not just the tools in front of them, but also education. Is OCR built in? How much does it cost? And then here's some examples for the different areas. Again, if you have those writing or note-taking ideas, please share them. I'm going to quickly go through and not highlight all of them, but you can do app smashing. I don't have this listed in here, but I was talking to one of our fabulous AT specialists within our AT network across the state. Please tap into your IU or district AT specialist if you need more ideas, or your ed tech coaches. There's lots of great people who specialize this that are in your schools, in your areas. You can absolutely reach out to me if you want to find out who's in your area, but think about, even book creator, which I highlight later, can be used with read and write, and it accelerates learning. He told me about a story where a student was really struggling, was having behaviors because he couldn't do the work and he couldn't uh, write a paragraph. And so my friend Jason sat down with the student. He opened up the book creator. He feigned a little bit of ignorance. He wasn't necessarily inexperienced with book creator, but he talked the student into showing him how. And then he turned on the read and write, and the teacher and the student was excited, so was the teacher, at how much the student put down in information. Isn't that our goal, right? We want our students to be maximizing what they can do. And then think about, if they don't have to use technology later, they're not gonna. It's just a temporary tool sometimes. So you might be using OCR textbook with text to speech for highlighting to take notes. That's what my daughter did in high school. I was thrilled when she came up to me and she was like, "Hey, have you heard about Speechify? It's what I use to have my read my textbook to me while I take notes." Because taking in print information was harder for her. So here's another writing thing. Here's note taking, and then productivity, app smashing. Again, it doesn't have to be just the one piece of information. There's extensions and things you can add that can be combined to provide more for our students. Here's just another app smashing for writing. This one's free. Here's a little bit of a combination where it's Google plus a couple of things that might not be free. Book Creator, I am in love with this. How many people use Book Creator? Ah, do you not love it? You can tap into so many different features. And they have, if you're on Twitter, they have such great ideas, templates. It's amazing. What I want to highlight though is navigation using your keyboard. Do you have students who use AAC devices? If you do, they can use those keyboard navigation tools, or any of our students who have limited physical abilities. It allows them to use those keyboard shortcuts to navigate the screen quickly and easily. It's amazing. All of those are hyperlinked to a doc again, or a web page that has more of those video features. So here's some of the videos that I just kind of copied into, like it dictates text into 120 different languages. I love this for our multilingual learners. You can also add transcript to audio recordings so that for some of our students that need more time to digest that information, they can either read it later, or they can use text to speech to go over it again later. So that's just, again, thinking flexibly about how we're using print and tapping into knowledge. This, by the way, if you are not a ULS, Unique Learning System user, summer is my favorite time because it is for free. And Sherry, thank you for throwing in all of the links. They are hyperlinked in there. Oops, that's not it. Sorry about that. That did not copy like I wanted to. Nope, it's not going to do it. Sherry, can you add the link for the unique summer lessons in there? If you click on the summer access, it's hyperlinked to go straight to the summer access page. It's available through September 13th. So now is the time. Download them all. It's about Summer Olympics. What a fun time. And I'm going to digress. I know it's 9:40. But one of the summers we had Summer Olympics with our AAC users. We had a AAC Storytellers Club. And that summer happened to be Summer Olympics. I had a graduate student that during the swimming, we took a field trip from, this was at a college campus. We took a field trip from the place where our clinic was over to the gymnasium, and she dove into the water to demonstrate swimming. Background knowledge and then real-time augmented. That was not technology, but what a great thing, right? How fun was that? They also did all kinds of great adapted games to emulate some of the Olympic games. UFly, I'm sure many of you, if you are in this, it has a lot of really great features. Again, flexibly providing a way to access print. Here are some literacy resources for early readers of any age. If you have access to Tumble Books, this is actually kind of free. Tumble Books is really fun. Epic is also great, but Tumble Books has a lot of readers that you can adjust the rate of reading. You can read it just the way that it is. You can tap into auditory features. It sometimes has fun auditory effects just to make it more engaging. Something to note about Tar Heel Reader, it is becoming Monarch through Building Wings, which is a newer company. It used to be Don Johnston. When Don Johnston sold his company to TextHelp, they still wanted access for students who needed more support with learning how to engage with print. Yes, Newsy LA, so amazing, right? And then this is just a tool. If you're going to use it, you can use this different ways where you're either planning for instruction for students. You can also use the same table to differentiate the instruction for planning lessons where maybe you have some students that are early learners and some that are fast mappers and voracious readers and everything in between. How are you structuring the literacy activity in a way that provides meaningful engagement for all of them? That's just, do check this out. This was actually our March newsletter, but it has lots of hyperlinks to information or suggestions for apps. So that is our newsletter through AT, our Assistive Technology Initiative. I am the state lead, but I have a fabulous group of educational consultants here at Patton. And then, like I said, there's an AT network of specialists who can help you think through technology. This is a document that was created by Bill Ziegler, who was an AT specialist in Bucks County. He is now retired. It was also originally co-created with Susan Gill, also retired, but Tammy Bertel, my other Tammy in AT, and I helped to keep this document up to date. I know, Bill is great. So Tech for Access, all lowercase, that's how you get the bit.ly link. It's filled with lots of tools, not just reading. The rest of this is just more information for you guys to check out. Do you guys want to throw your questions in a chat? So like AT and the IP examples, just resources from here on out. Tools for access. Feature match, one is for word prediction, reading, another for reading. So we've got lots of resources for you to help you through this process. The one thing I will leave you with though is, when we're thinking about technology, Americans without disabilities, technology makes things easier. For Americans with disabilities, technologies makes things possible. So how are we making literacy and language possible for our learners? Again, providing explicit instruction.